හෙළදරු කැලවිසු පුරාතනේ යලිපදී මේ අරහත් ලජ දරමිනේ නැවතත් සති පෙරමුණේ කොහෙගියද දරුවනි නුඹ මෙතුවක් අපි වැළපුනේ පරසිරිතට නොනැමුණු හෙළදරු කැලගෙල සිඳරුනේ ගැලුලේ විල මත දියැවි සතිමාවක වැළහුනේ පරසිරිතට නොනැමුණු හෙළදරු කැලගෙල සිඳරුනේ ගැලුලේ විල මත දියැවි සතිමාවක වැළහුනේ කොහෙගියේද දරුවනි නුඹ මෙතුවක් අපි වැළපුනේ හෙළදරු කැලවිසු පුරාතනේ යලිපදී මේ අරහත් ලජ දරමිනේ නැවතත් සති පෙරමුණේ කොහෙගියේද දරුවනි නුඹ මෙතුවක් අපි වැළපුනේ දහම් බෙරය හැඬවෙන විට යලි පිබිදී පින්බිමේ අපට වඩා දුර යන වග සැක නෑ බැලුවම පෙනේ දහම් බෙරය හැඬවෙන විට යලි පිබිදී පින්බිමේ අපට වඩා දුර යන වග සැක නෑ බැලුවම පෙනේ සතියෙන් මුළු ලොව දිනුමට නුඹට හැකිය හෙට දිනේ හෙළදරු කැලවිසු පුරාතනේ යලිපදී මේ අරහත් ලජ දරමිනේ නැවතත් සති පෙරමුණේ කොහෙගියේද දරුවනි නුඹ මෙතුවක් අපි වැළපුනේ හෙළදරු කැලවිසු පුරා
Good evening and Happy New Year and welcome to our final session on the Master Trainers 4-module program. We only have 2 of you here just now, so I hope the others will be able to join us soon. Can you hear me? Will you please let me know if you can hear me clearly? All right. I hope the raised hand is to let me know that you can hear me clearly. So we will begin since it's 1 minute past the hour, and hopefully the others will join us. So the final session is all about continuing the practice and recapping everything that we have discussed in the previous session. So it's appropriately titled Continuing the Practice. Just a reminder, so by now, when you started, you did a mindfulness pre-assessment questionnaire, and I've released the mindfulness post-assessment questionnaire. Basically, they are the same questions, but hopefully you will be more reflective when you respond to those questions, and you will see the difference in your answers. We'll talk about that later towards the end of the session, but it is important that you fill in the post-assessment questionnaire as well. And we today we will sit for our final guided mindfulness practice sessions, but more or less you can see the green ticks that everything that we have covered over the duration of the program. By next week Sunday we will disband the WhatsApp group, but there will be some information that will be released in the group for your continued practice and information. So the only way to communicate after next week Sunday will be through email only, and all the other forms will be closed. This is just for you to keep in mind. And for today's session, our aim for the session is doing things wholeheartedly, enabling the strength of the mind. So we will enable our strength of our mind, and we will use that strength to do things wholeheartedly, to practice mindfulness wholeheartedly, to gain the maximum benefit from our practice. And right now, I welcome wholeheartedly our founder of the Sati Pasala, most venerable Utu Iriagama Dhammajiva Thero, is with us right now. I welcome you, Reverend Sir. Thank you so much for your valuable time to drop into our session.
Thank you for the introduction, and of course I am about to start another session, but I promised, as I promised last time, I am going to spend few minutes because we have done a kind of a important event whereby master training program is in English, because I was interested in, because UK government, they knew about our master training program, and they told that this kind of a thing is first time happening in the world. And they wanted to have English medium program. But in Sri Lanka, as you know, the Tamil and Sinhala version will cover the whole island. But myself, Venerable Chandaratana and Venerable and Dr. Tara Dimel, we wanted to have English, but of course we have translated everything. But this is the first time conducting this. So this is a good initiative. And I know it is happening in a very good caliber, and definitely we can repeat it. And I will ask Tara to inform the Mindfulness Initiative. That is the name for the UK Parliament. And they are quite related with us. The person representing also came to Sri Lanka in our Mindfulness Global Summit, and then onward we have the relationship. So please keep it up and conduct as much as possible because we wanted to have this team other than the UK parliamentarian. We wanted to have these 4 international schools in Sri Lanka. For the moment, they are managing with the Sinhala, but if you can contribute with the Leeds as well as Alexandra College and other private schools, I will give you the connection, and you may, once this is successfully finished, you may please take your own time, your valuable time, and continue this so that I will get more chances to join with you and celebrate with you and say words with sympathetic joy to congratulate you all. So thank you very much for your initiative, and it is coming from Wayamba. Wayamba is not the English fluent area. People expect this kind of things from Kandy, Colombo, all the kind of this. So therefore, keep it up. And I wish you to connect into our media group also. That also will be a connection. So with that remark, I would like to take leave. So please, I wish you all the good luck and well wishes for the new year.
Thank you, and much gratitude to you, Venerable Sir.
Thank for Malika too.
Yes.
I'm taking leave.
Much more. Thank you so much, and much gratitude to you, Venerable Sir. And our dear participants, we have the Wayamba coordinator, Miss Mallika Jayaratna, joining us today as well. So maybe we will speak to each other in a moment. So before we start our first guided mindfulness practice session, I will highlight all the topics that the resources that we will be using in the session. There are 2 learning videos which I will translate for you, allowing the strength of the mind and mindfulness in daily activities, and then our recommended reading material for the session, which hopefully you would have completed the week 8 reading from the Sati Pasala instructional essays book last week. And then the other piece of reading is chapter 3, stopping and slowing down topic in the mindfulness, the power of mindfulness by the German Theoro, Venerable Nyanaponika. So let's sit and make ourselves comfortable for our first guided session on mindful sitting.
You can sit in a comfortable position. You may close your eyes. Relax yourself. You can calm down yourself. You can take a deep breath and exhale. So probably you can hear certain things, but I am talking, and maybe a little noise, maybe the sounds of birds, maybe some others are talking close by, maybe various other sounds. We are not neglecting them, or we are not sort of hating them. Rather, we are trying to include them as well. So we can be mindful about everything, and we can include all these experiences. Right now I am hearing. Mindfully I am listening. Now you can try to take your attention to yourself. Your eyes are closed. And you can feel your lips touching each other. And you are keeping your tongue in a very relaxed position, in a very restful position. You are not making any stress, any tension out of it. And you are not thinking any particular problem right now, not regretting about the past, not reminding anything, not remembering anything, and also not planning anything. Rather trying to keep your attention in the present moment. So taking your attention to the present moment is one of the key factors in our practice. So that becomes the establishment of mindfulness. So in order to establish mindfulness, we maybe take bodily activities, bodily sensations, various feelings, and even we can look at the mind. But first, better to take our posture as our anchoring point. Currently, I am sitting. Very direct experience. I can very well understand. Now I am sitting. My legs are touching the ground. Calf muscles are relaxed. Thigh muscles are relaxed. And a fair amount of weight being concentrated at the buttocks. Back straight. Arms are resting on the lap or maybe on the table. Shoulders are also relaxed. We are not holding them effortfully. Head straight. Eyes are gently closed. Lips are gently touching each other. And we are comfortably sitting. There is nothing big to achieve. There is no huge goal. Rather, at this very moment, I am quite open-minded and relaxed, enjoying the present moment. There is no hurry. Come back to yourself. If your mind wanders towards the past or the future, don't worry about it. That is the nature of the mind. And once you know about it, once you are aware of it, gently take it back. And once you are with the body, sometimes there may be sort of a pleasurable feeling, and sometimes even some unpleasant feelings. Say you may feel a little warm, or you may feel a little cold, or you may be feeling the touching points of your clothes. There may be sort of tightness, little heaviness. All these things, even certain irritations, itchiness, slight pains, minor pains, all these things you can feel. Don't worry about them. Don't be angry with them. Just understand, right now, these things are available. These things are manifesting. And you have a fairly wider mind to accept them. You are not narrow-minded to reject them. Rather, you have all-encompassing mind. You have a wider mind, open mind. You can include everything. If you are able to take your attention to the middle, it is equanimous. You are not really extremely happy, no, you are unhappy, but your mind is fairly equanimous. Now you can keep your attention on breath. Closer to the nostril, keep your attention. Be aware, right now there is in-breath. Be aware, right now there is out-breath. Simply acknowledge it. Simply receive it. Be aware of the in-breath. Be aware of the out-breath. Don't try to control it. Rather, allow it to happen as it is. You again have sort of an open mind attitude. You are not trying to manipulate the breath or control the breath. Whatever the way it is happening, you really embrace it, really acknowledge it as it is. Take a deep breath and slowly exhale. If your mind wanders, you can label it in breath, out breath, or simply in, out. If you are able to establish mindfulness, now try to investigate the breath. From which nostril is the in-breath happens? From which nostril is the out-breath happens? What is the quality of the in-breath? Is it warm or cold? What is the quality of the out-breath? Is it warm or cold? Is it long or short? Are you able to see the complete cycle of the breath? There's this gradual beginning, then you reach the middle, and then you reach the end. Then there's a little gap. And now you can encounter the beginning of the out-breath. Now the middle, then the end. Then there's another gap. Now the beginning of the next in-breath. Likewise, there's a kind of a cyclic nature to this breathing. Try just to be with it. If your mind calms down, if breath calms down, allow it to calm down. Facilitate this calming down. And once it is well established, once it is well calmed down, there are various sensations arising in the body, throughout the body. Try to find out most predominant one, prominent one, and try to closely investigate it. Whatever the sensation, whatever the feeling, you are closely investigating it, one after the other, with a very pleasant, equanimous, concentrated mind.
Right, so we are ready to continue with our session, and we will have a short discussion on your experiences later on. If there is anybody who would like to speak and share your thoughts at any point, please raise your hand. Our final session, we will make opportunity to talk and share our ideas and also clarify any doubts as much as possible. So before we proceed, the things that we have gone through, the topics, I've listed a few, the first 7 themes, and if there is anything that you wish to discuss on any of these themes, or there are some doubts, maybe the learning outcomes were not clear enough and you wish to understand them a little bit more, this is a good time to recap on what we have practiced and what we have learned. So as mindfulness practitioners, it is really important for us to define what mindfulness is, so that we can explain it clearly to another person or a young person or a child, and they should also be able to understand what mindfulness really means. And then distinguish, mindfulness is a vast topic, and we practice bare attention. So what is that initial notice? What is that attention that we pay to something in a very novel way? So how do we understand bare attention? How do we apply bare attention? So if you have any doubts, if things are not clear, this is a good time to speak about them again. Any questions or anything that you would wish to share? We also discussed how we experience the present moment, using our body as a tool or listening to sounds, and so on. We looked at feelings and emotions, linking it with emotional intelligence or emotional literacy. We discussed the importance of silent observations. We looked at social behavior and interactions. And then last week we were talking about how to take mindfulness practice beyond the classroom. And today we talk about continuing the practice. Is there anyone who would like to share their thoughts on what we have done so far? Feel free to speak at any point. So something to highlight from my part, when we are practicing mindfulness, when we are being mindfulness, there are what we have tried to cover in this 16-hour training, or will cover at the end of the 16-hour training, is the importance of personal practice, right? It doesn't matter however much you listen to mindfulness introductions or you read about it, that personal practice is essential. And then the methodologies that you would use to practice, I spoke about, or you may have also read from the Power of Mindfulness book. There are two approaches to mindfulness practice. One is the very structured or methodical practice, which we use in mindful sitting and mindful walking. And then the other approach is practicing mindfulness in day-to-day activities. So slightly different. There are some subtle differences there in the methodology, but essentially we are trying to pay attention to what is happening in the present moment. And then when we, the strategies that we would use, maybe the tools, maybe the activities, the games that we would use in our teaching and learning of mindfulness practice with other adults or students. And it is important, especially when we work with older students, to help explain to them the findings from scientific research and the basis, the scientific background to mindfulness practice. That really sells the point to some people, especially who are a bit skeptical, thinking and associating mindfulness with usual meditation practice. And we will also speak, and we have spoken of this, the benefits of the practice, but rather than speaking of the benefits, when you experience those benefits for yourself, then it will be easier for you to convey the message to other people, because there is conviction in the way that you would convey the benefits to others, benefits of the practice. And also you can be mindful about, especially when you keep continuing the practice, what kind of needs and requirements are met or can be met through our mindfulness practice. So for example, we work in the education field. So maybe we are teachers or administrators or students, right? We work with people. So we need to know what is the end result? What is our goal? What do we want our students to achieve? Where do we want our students to be when they graduate from school, right? If we wish them to be lifelong learners, we wish to make sure that they have the 21st century skill set so that they can be successful in life, not only in their chosen profession, but in their life and how they interact socially. All of those needs and requirements of the learner, needs and requirements of you as a teacher. So how are these requirements and needs met with your mindfulness practice? So I would say these key areas, you look at them mindfully, you practice mindfully, and you will, when you are in turn teaching others about mindfulness practice, these are 6 aspects to be considered, to be mindful about. So if there is anything that you wish to add at this point, any other aspect that you feel we should address, you're welcome to add to this list. What do you think? No thoughts? Okay, we continue. So speaking of the 21st century skills, as educators, as teachers, you would probably be already aware of this. So in the left-hand side of the screen, these 5th, 6th, and 7th skills are associated or linked to learning. But if you look at all 12 skills, we can easily tie them with mindfulness and the process of practicing mindfulness. Most of these skills can be developed. So in the bubbles you see here, the 21st century learner, the characteristics of the 21st century learner. So they are the learning is centered around the student, right? It's a student-centered learning that is happening, and we cater to individual needs, although we address collectively the learners. Learning is very personalized, and there is an element of interdependency, but very flexible, the way they learn and adapt, right? And there is diversity, and the learning is much media driven, so much so than ever before. So with all these characteristics, right, we can see that when we encourage our youngsters to practice mindfulness, they will have the strength of mind, they will have the self-awareness, right, to create that stable mind and stable self, to make sure they succeed in mastering these skills. So if you are aware of the Bloom's taxonomy, I'm just throwing it a little bit here. We know about the lower order thinking skills and then the high order thinking skills. So if you look at the range, right? So from the lower order thinking skills of remembering, then understanding, then applying what they learned, learning to analyze, evaluate, and in the most higher order thinking skills to do with creativity. So you can see developing mindfulness, applying that bare attention, and then along with mindfulness, we develop clear comprehension. So you can see that entire process of practicing mindfulness, developing mindfulness, establishing mindfulness will support the learning process, and the way they would approach certain methodologies and strategies in learning. And again, what we see, we see when we think of our learner, right? So many aspects to consider. So how are you teaching so that you center your student? Your teaching is student-centered, right? How do you identify the obstacles to their learning? How do you solve or find out the solutions to those obstacles to learning, right? So we are generally speaking about differently able students, students with certain learning difficulties, right? How can we include mindfulness practice or mindful activities within our lesson plans to help and enable those learners. And then the idea of emotional intelligence and emotional literacy and social emotional learning, how we can incorporate those into the lesson. And in doing so, how do we reduce the stress that the students would have to face, maybe in learning because of their learning obstacles, like being differently abled or having learning difficulties, or it could be the workload, or it could be the not having the right skill set to relate with others, or it could be how to cope with their home situation, right? So many things that will lead to stress, and how is it reduced? So this is also something that we have brought up over in some of the sessions, and I would like you to think about. If you do have ideas or you do create lesson plans, feel free to share, and so that other teachers can also start thinking in similar ways. And obviously, how to make sure that you provide opportunities for students to develop their 21st century skills within your lessons. So for one very simple example, would be under the remembering category in lower order thinking skills. How do they use techniques to search through information, right? Simple task of Googling, Do they have the right skill set to get the relevant information from that? So simple things. How do you incorporate mindfulness into that? Any thoughts and ideas? Please feel free to stop me from speaking and share your thoughts. So some things for you to consider, especially in your lessons, or if you have school-wide common time where you can practice mindfulness with your staff and your students, or in your individual subjects. When you teach mindfulness or mindfulness activity, carry out mindfulness based activities, any person, every time they practice mindfulness, start as a beginner. Every time. It doesn't matter if you have practiced for many years or just started, you always sit, and that initial attention, you start as a beginner, because that's the best way to make sure that you pay attention and you're fully focused to on that initial attention or bare attention. So you always start as a beginner. And when you start, you start it in a way that you mean to go, so that there is a less disruption in the way you plan. So this is the new year, so anything that you start, all your lessons probably maybe include a little bit of mindfulness. And it's because it's the beginning of the year, most students will be on board with that, something new at the beginning of the school year. So you can start and you can continue that, sustain that over a period of time. So you don't have to make things too difficult. Start with simple things. And then obviously you will look, you will observe, you will make sure that you understand when you put in your lesson plans together and how you deliver it, right? We have to be mindful in our thinking and planning. And thinking twice simply means giving time for you to respond mindfully rather than reacting without thought. And you can incorporate social learning, emotional learning into your teaching. And then the best way, now I may have mentioned this before, we are so geared to do things, especially new things. And we have this phrase, we say, we do this, we hit the ground running. So which means we learn as we learn it ourselves and we start delivering it, right? So that can be really stressful, right? So to reduce that stressful stage, let's slow down. We stop and slow down, and then we start doing this slowly and mindfully and silently. So that will help us balance that stressful situation. And of course, we can also try to do activities that will enable the progress of developing emotional intelligence or the emotional quotient of our students, and incorporating emotional literacy activities, which are very much similar to mindfulness practice activities. And we can also incorporate 21st century skills to help our students be prepared once they graduate school. So you start young, you start slowly, you start steadily, and you will have a solid foundation to continue the practice. So the first learning video is allowing the strength of the mind. So we discuss mindful sitting, or Dhammajivatero talks about mindful sitting and how we can strengthen the mind to practice it continuously. So the concerns in mindful sitting Does anybody have further concerns that they would like to bring to discussion on mindful sitting? We just had a mindful sitting session earlier. Any concerns? Okay, so here are some that I thought might be concerned, might be a concern, right? So one is there are so many things that we need to do within the day, right? And our life is a bit fast paced. So when we have to kind of stop and slow down, then our concern is that we don't have enough time. We don't have enough time, especially when we have to wake up in the morning, make sure your household is in order, everybody has what they need for the day, and then you all move out to school and work, and then you come back and you have responsibilities to carry out. So and then you have socializing, so many things to do, and it is fast paced. So when we say stop and slow down, then it is a concern. And then another concern when we sit mindfully is the observations we are making, right? So initially we will become aware of those gross sensations, and slowly over time, with much patience and practice, we will start noticing the subtle observations. But again, this is unlikely to happen if our life is fast-paced. So Dhammajiva Thero says, choose the best time and the best posture and the best location for your practice. So if you try to do this when you don't have enough time, when it is difficult for you to sustain a seated position for a longer time because you don't have the best way to sit, you're just seated maybe on the train or maybe on a chair that's not very comfortable, right? And the location is very distracting, then there will be discomfort. You will feel tired, and then you will not like to practice this, right? So when at the beginning, choose a good time when you are relaxed, right? Choose a good posture that you can sustain for a longer time. So sitting on the floor, using a cushion will give you the freedom to keep your body rather than restricting yourself to a chair. And then a better location that is less distracting. So that way you can avoid feeling uncomfortable, you can avoid feeling too tired when you want to sit for a longer session. Now in my practice, I really like it when I can do a sitting that is probably an hour or so long, because sometimes when it is after 30 minutes or close to 45 minutes that your mind, so everybody says when they sit for 5 minutes or 2 minutes, they will feel a sense of calmness and relaxation. But that true tranquility you can reach when you are seated silently for maybe 30 or 40 minutes, and then your mind can become truly calm. So it takes a little while. So and then once you have a good time and you can sustain a good posture, you have a good location, a place to do your mindful sitting, then you will be joyful, you will be happy and relaxed, and then you are ready to befriend your mind. Sorry, befriend your body, so that you can take a look inside your body. You turn towards yourself, you observe your inner self, not the outside world, but your inner self, right? And this is just like, now think about a fast working machine, right? Maybe something with an engine or some kind of rotor, right? So very fast working machine, a fast machine. And if you want to look inside that machine, it can be really difficult if it is working at high speed, and it will be dangerous too, right? So if, for example, if your fan is at high speed and you want to take a look into what's happening inside it, you're not going to look inside while it's working at high speed. Same with your vehicle engine, right? You're not going to look in the engine while you're driving it. So because it can be dangerous. So similarly, right? So if you really want to look inside, maybe you will reduce the speed of your machine, or maybe slow it down, or maybe stop it before you take a look inside. What's happening, right? You want to find what is the fault, or you want to fix it, or you simply want to see what's working, what is happening inside. You would have to reduce the speed. Right? So usually in our fast-paced lives, our bodies are running fast, our mind is working really fast, right? Rapidly moving from one point to another focus, to another focus, to another focus, right? So it is really hard for us to see, truly see what we are really doing. It's only when we stop and slow down and then become absolutely still in our body, we can close our eyes, then we can start to look and really see what's happening inside us. So when we sit still, we sit absolutely still, and then we focus on our breath. Or we can just sit still and do nothing, just nothing, right? And we know how long we can sustain that position, or how long we can, or how many breath cycles we can focus on continuously without losing our focus, right? Once we are able to gauge, oh yeah, we can keep our focus, we will start feeling relaxed, we will start feeling happy, we will be joyful, right? And that is the moment when your mind is truly relaxed and calm. And that is the moment you will start seeing things. So you will move from your gross of the sensations, observing your gross sensations, into seeing the subtle sensations. So you might hear your heartbeat, right? The rise and fall of your body, right? How the places where your clothing is too tight, right? The moment you start noticing those things, then your mindfulness is established. You are mindful of your body, right? And then when you feel that warmth or coldness, the wind on your body, all of those things are happening in the present moment. So you are aware, you are mindful. And if you can sustain those over a long period of time, those sensations, the focus on those sensations, keeping your mind on those sensations, then that will lead to your mind being awake and alert. Which means rather than the actions and the words that are generated in your body, right? Your mind is so serene, reconciled, right? And it will start to see the thoughts that arise. The thoughts are really clearly seen in your mind. You can see this, right? So if you have experienced this, you know what I'm talking about. And then once you are when you start seeing your thoughts clearly, then you can start identifying all those negative things that are happening. So it could be some kind of uncomfortable feeling, right? You don't like it. It could be a strong dislike, a distaste, annoyance, right? You get irritated. So there is that sense of stubbornness. So you start identifying these things. They're very subtle. Most of the time you don't really, you might understand them, but you don't really truly see them as they rise. And it is said that it is good, it is better to see these negative feelings, these negative sensations or thoughts actually, these negative thoughts, right? And it's good to see them because we all know if we can sense something or foresee something that is harmful or negative earlier, then we will have a way or a measure to overcome it, right? So you can start playing the glad game, right? Applying the glad game. Okay, I see this sense of annoyance coming up, arising in me. And then that is a good thing. So you see it as a good thing, because now you can see what am I doing when I feel this sense of annoyance in me? What are the kinds of thoughts? And you start observing them and you make use of it. So that's a glad game. So for example, think if a young child or even you have an accident, maybe you fall down and you're wounded, or maybe you are wounded in such a way that you are immobilized, right? You can't move around freely, right? So that is a good opportunity for you to sit still then and practice mindfulness. So if it is a young child, it is a good opportunity to, okay, I haven't studied these sections. Now that I'm unable to move around and play, I might as well sit down and study. So a glad game. So an unfortunate incident turned into an opportunity. So the advice that Dhammajiva Thero is giving us is every day in all our daily activities and the situations we face, right? Turn it into a series of glad games, because we are looking inside us and we can see all the thoughts and the negative thoughts that are coming up, and we turn it into a series of glad games. So another thing to consider is on hot days, we sweat. The reason we sweat is then we can cool our body. And then on cold days, sometimes we shiver, and that act of shivering will produce energy to warm our body. So it's interesting how the outside and the inside world are connected. A change in the outside world will affect the inside world, and the changes will happen accordingly. And you can understand this interconnectedness with the inside and outside world when we are patiently observing what's happening inside. So the benefit, right, from mindful sitting, yes, you will be able to rest and relax and gain a lot of information about how our inside when we look inside, how our inside world works and function, right? And we do this with daily mindful sitting. And with regular practice, we will start experiencing greater, far greater, profound discoveries. We will make discoveries. So that is the gist of this video. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Any thoughts, agreements, disagreements? Does anything resonate with you? Okay, right, so we continue. We started talking about social relationships and interactions, right? So take a moment to think about your most recent social relationship or interaction you had, maybe a conversation with your parent or a colleague, or maybe a student or a sibling or the neighbor. You can reflect on that for a moment, and your mindfulness practice. How did you establish mindfulness within that interaction? If you wish to share with us your experience, you're most welcome to do so. And last week, I left this question with you. When we want a mind primed for mindfulness, right, or primed with mindfulness, right, how would that mind, a mindful mind, if you may, be better able to understand and apply social emotional learning? Think about it. I left this question with you last week, last time we had our session. Today we will discuss this in a little more detail. Social emotional learning. So if you have anything that you wish to share, please do so. Any thoughts? on what we have discussed. I will keep on speaking. Feel free to stop me at any point. So we learned in social emotional learning, the first thing is building this self-awareness, right? Awareness of yourself, your identity. And once you are aware of yourself, then you can control what's happening. You can manage yourself. And once you manage yourself, you will start understanding others. So when you understand others, you have social awareness. And with that, you're able to build good relationship skills or relationships with others in society. And then because you have good relationship skills, you will be able to be responsible decision makers. So this is the idea of social emotional learning. So we learned this in module 3. And here's a diagram. So when you continue the practice, we extend this practice beyond the classroom. You can see those 5 key points that I just described in that circle: social and emotional learning, starting with self-awareness, self-management, all the way to responsible decision making, right? And all of that we can teach in the classroom through social emotional curriculum and instruction. And then as a school, you would probably have school-wide practices and maybe policies in place to establish and support social emotional learning. And then you can take this beyond schools to home and the communities. Probably your school might have awareness programs or parent evenings to educate them, make them understand what this is all about. And then you build this family and community partnership with your school. So there is that element of interdependency that I showed you in the 21st century skill slide. So this is social emotional learning. So as teachers, as administrators, as people practicing mindfulness, and also completing this master training program, you need to have a sound understanding of social emotional learning and how it is related to mindfulness and how mindfulness can support social emotional learning. So if you have any questions or doubt, or you need anything clarified about social emotional learning, please feel free to ask. I have put 4 statements on the screen. If you can see them, I'll read them out if you can't see them clearly. But I would like for you to do is to validate these statements. Maybe you agree to it, or maybe you don't, maybe you need more evidence for it. Let's have a discussion. So the first statement is understanding self through practicing mindfulness will help teachers and students to fulfill their academic responsibilities competently. So think about that for a moment. If you have any doubt in it, let's have a discussion. The second statement is they, as in the sense teachers and students, will eventually become responsible individuals capable of taking decisions with maturity and not be hasty in making judgments. And then the third statement is their ability to face challenges in and out of the classroom will be enhanced. And moreover, they will become empathetic and considerate and will be able to develop values that help in being useful citizens. So this is the self curriculum. Is it any different to what we want our students and teachers to achieve through mindfulness practice? No? Comment? Okay, let's move on. So we have a second learning video. So again, with mindfulness in daily activities, again, our topic is practicing this wholeheartedly, enabling the strength of our mind, right? And our biggest concern is how do we balance, how do we actually practice this in our lives when there is so much for us to do. So you can see the same concerns I spoke about earlier. I've just mentioned them here as well. So the first thing is you must stop and slow down, and then you start to work in silence. And that is the way to establish mindfulness. You stop what you are doing or you slow down, and then you start working in silence. And then that is when your mind will be ready to establish mindfulness, right? And the best, obviously, we really don't have enough time or extra time to do this, right? So the only way we can do this is to practice this while we are doing our daily activities, while we go about doing our day-to-day activities, right? Without spending extra time on this, right? You're thirsty now, so you want to take a sip of water. So you stop, you slow down, and you silently get your water and sip, and then observe how the water touches your lips and move on down your throat and so on. So the first step to do this is to choose an activity that you can do by yourself, not an activity that you can do with a team or with somebody else, but something that you can do alone. And then you would do this as slowly and mindfully, and most importantly, without speaking, being silent, right? So the best activities would be your morning routine activities like washing, brushing your teeth, eating, maybe packing your bag for school or work, or ironing your clothes, or dressing for school or work, right? So something that you can do by yourself. And then the other thing is, once you start doing this slowly and totally focused, and you do this in silence, right, you will be able to conclude, you will be able to complete the task, you will be able to see to the end of the task without making error, right, without forgetting things. So you will not regret. So you go to work or school and you suddenly think, oh, I forgot to bring this to school or work, I forgot to do this. So that will not happen if you are doing this mindfully. So the thing is, sometimes we are addicted to this thought process where we are forgetful and then we disregard it. Oh yeah, I forgot, and then you get over it and you keep on making similar mistakes over and over again because you overlook, and it becomes a bad habit, right? That forgetfulness or that disregard towards the usual errors. You start accepting them. You start saying to yourself, yeah, people make mistakes, and then you just go about it, right? Those are bad habits. So the good habit will be trying to give our best. And this is what we teach our students. We don't tell them you have to be perfect. We tell them you have to do your best, right? So we give our best. And when we do that, we will get a sense of gratitude, this feeling of gratitude, a feeling of thankfulness on completing that task. And you will start sensing that, and that will make you relax. So the advice that is given to you today is choose at least one task to practice mindfully, and you break away from that vicious cycle of addiction and laziness where you disregard all the errors and mistakes and accept it. You break away from that, but you choose one task mindfully, right? So for example, choose mindful eating, right? You're usually talking or watching television or reading or working while eating, but now when you're eating mindfully, you start observing the changes in the texture of the food, the solid turning into semi-solid and then almost like liquid at the end, and the tastes changing, right? Eventually to a milky taste or tastelessness. And then if you're not mindful, you will not be aware of the food intake, the amount of food that you took, and then you'll feel uncomfortable, too full, right? And then, but if you were aware of how you serve the food, the amount of food you serve to your plate, putting your food in the mouth, then chewing, how many times did you chew your food, then you're aware of the changes in the taste and the texture until you can clearly say that all the textures turned into one texture and all the different tastes now have turned into one taste. So you become aware like that. So this is the basis of the treatment for with mindful eating. The research says that you can actually reduce or even stop diabetes, high blood pressure, and obesity at the point of the mouth, before you swallow or your tongue, because you have been mindful. So you are in charge, you are in control. So the advice, again, reminding you, select one task to practice wholeheartedly and diligently, right? And you're seeing the novelty in that task without doing that task by rote or habit, right? So normally when we brush our teeth or wash ourselves or dress, those are routine tasks, and we do them with habit, by habit. So try to break away from doing it by habit and try to treat it as a novel thing. So then you will pay more attention to it, right? So because if you try to do it by habit, right, if things go wrong, if you do it by habit and things go wrong and you are forgetful or something happens, then you will react. There will be a knee-jerk reaction. You'll be angry with yourself. You will blame someone else, right? For example, there is always a place you keep your keys somewhere, right? It's by habit. You don't even know where you keep it. You just keep it there by habit. And then one day you forget, you blame somebody, right? So when you do something in the same thing, but with a sense of novelty, right, then you will be responding mindfully, and this will avoid conflict, right? So it is better to respond mindfully and avoid conflict than correcting that mistake. And obviously, over time, you can increase the number of activities that you practice mindfully. So the benefits of that would be eventually you will not have any negative results, like you won't get annoyed, you won't get irritated. Even if you do, there will be a solution for that, and it will save time. It will save time. Initially you stop and slow down, but with full focus, it will save time, because you're not spending more time in correcting mistakes. Right? So if anybody would like to share your thoughts on what we just discussed, feel free to contribute. Any thoughts? Okay, right. So quickly think about, we have discussed this before as well, about our values, right? Our morals and values, how mindfulness practice is connected, really interconnected with ethical behavior, right, and integrity, right, in education, in society, and in life. Right? With mindfulness practice, you become so aware of yourself, you start noticing things, you will be unable to lie to yourself. You will know the moment you are lying. You will know the moment you feel a negative emotion, right? You will know when you are jealous. You will know when you are angry. You will know when you feel hurt, or when things don't go your way. But you will face that truth, and in doing so, right, probably if you're a student, less likely to cheat, right, less likely to lie, right, interactions, positive interactions in society, right? So think about it. These kinds of things that I'm speaking about will not happen overnight. It will take some level of long-term practice, but eventually you will be there, right? You're not going to do mindful walking. So in summary, at the end of this program, give me a moment to just check. Sorry about that. Sharing. We will sit for our second guided meditation, mindful sitting activity, and then we will continue the rest of the discussion. So I would ask everybody to sit comfortably, right? You might want to stretch yourselves. You have been seated for too long. You might stand up, stretch yourself, and then get ready. I will just play the audio.
Okay, dear dumb friends, so we are going to have the next session, that is a guided sitting session. May you have a comfortable position. You can sit cross-legged if possible, or else you can use a chair and keep your body straight and gently close your eyes. So this is the time that we are going to spend for ourselves. So you may be involved with various other activities, but now we are trying to just spend some time for ourselves. Just be with this body. So once we start to be with the body, it slowly allows us to connect with various feelings, and that allows us to aware of various mental states, various thoughts, and further helps to understand ourselves, get a deeper understanding of how our mind works. So likewise, it's a kind of a gradual practice, and we start by paying attention to the body. Our eyes are gently closed, and there is no any wrinkle in the eyebrows. There are no wrinkles on the forehead. So you are in a quite relaxed position, and you are not thinking any problem as such. Whatever related to the past has let go of, and whatever the future planning, thoughts and projections, dreams, everything put aside, and trying to connect with this simple present moment. So this simple present moment is quite direct. You don't need to think about it, rather you can connect with it. You can be with it. You can feel it. You can experience it. It is not that we are imagining, rather we experience it. So currently our eyes are closed, and you can feel your lips are touching and jaws are not tightly coupled. Tongue at a restful position. You are not pressurizing it using onto the gums or onto the teeth, but rather it's at its root. And in particular, there is no tension in the whole face, feeling quite relaxed. And if you like, you can keep a slight smile at your mouth. So you are trying to enjoy the present moment. So there is nothing big to achieve. There is no huge target. There is no responsibility. We are not taking it as a burden. Rather, we approach with a beginner's mind, a fresh mind, a childlike mind, inquiring mind. Our head straight, neck straight, and shoulders in a restful position. Hands are resting on your lap, maybe on the table. And probably you can feel that your clothes are touching your body. There may be little sensations, tightness here and there, so that you feel that various clothes are touching the body. And we allow the body to breathe naturally. And probably you can feel the abdominal movement rising and falling. And there may be a little pressure, a weight at your buttocks. Since you are sitting, your body weight is fairly concentrated at your buttocks. Your upper legs are relaxed and lower legs also relaxed. Calf muscles are relaxed. And certain parts of your soles may be touching the ground. See whether you can fully comprehend this sitting posture. Probably you can hear little sounds, birds chirping, maybe a hum noise of an air conditioner, a fan, refrigerator, or maybe someone talking a little far. We have an open mind. We are not rejecting any of these sounds. We are fully aware of those sounds. We allow them to come and allow them to go. There is no inner resistance. So we have a radical acceptance. Whatever happens, we are ready to accept. You can take a deep breath, hold it for a second, and then release. Try to connect with your body. As you paying close attention to the body, you can recognize various processes. The breathing process happening at the nostril, and heart vibration, rising and falling of the abdomen, maybe blood circulation, various touching sensations, little pains, all these things. Everything happens at the right present moment. Our mind can go to the past or to the future, but not the body. Body always stays at the present moment. So in order to synchronize mind and the body, so we are using this bodily posture, various feelings, processes, so that mind also will synchronize into the present moment. Try to be aware of everything. Try to envelop everything using the mindfulness. See whether you can feel the breath. As you're breathing in, feel the in-breath. As you breathe out, feel the out-breath. It's a very simple practice, but helps us to look at from a different dimension, from a different perspective about this whole experience. Rather than we being driven by the experience, we now in a position to observe the experience. we are like an outsider. We are able to watch what is going on. We can simply witness the process. We have the island of mindfulness, space of mindfulness, refuge of mindfulness. While being there, we can observe everything. See whether you can recognize this mindful space, that vantage point. Allow the body to breathe naturally and be aware of in breath and out breath. If your mind wanders, you can note it as in, out. Do it in a more delicate, gentle manner so that you are not disturbing the process. If you are able to watch the breath, inquire more so that you can recognize various features. The warmth of the in-breath, the warmth of the out-breath, whether it is cool or warm, whether it is long or short, from which nostril it is going in, from which nostril it is going out. See whether you can recognize. Try to investigate. Very balanced investigation. Allow the body to breathe, and you are observing carefully while maintaining a relaxed attitude. Breathing in slowly starts, then it improves, then it disappears. After a little gap, out breath starts, then it improves, and then it disappears. After a little gap, the next in breath starts. Once you are well established in mindfulness, you can continue your usual practice.
All right. So summarizing our 4-modular 8-week master training program, we try to get you to understand the practice, the techniques, the scientific background, and the importance and the benefit of mindfulness. There are so many benefits of mindfulness practice in order for you to continue in your practice and then become confident in training further adults as mindfulness facilitators, or to teach mindfulness to your own students or even your family members. So I would reiterate that mindfulness is a vast, very deep topic, practice. What we would teach in schools would be the initial attention or the bare attention. And we recommend 5 activities, that is mindful walking, mindful sitting, mindfully brushing teeth, mindful eating, and mindful showering. So these are the things that we would encourage everybody to practice. 2 of these as methodical practice and the other 3 as daily activities. And you can see some of the tools, that is the mind jar and the singing bowl. Then some of the things that we discussed on social emotional learning and emotional literacy. There are 5 things, some resources as mindfulness practitioners, future mindfulness facilitators, or master trainers. There is a pledge that you would take in how you conduct yourself and how you practice, and there are 10 guiding principles. So if anybody is interested in filling in that Google form to express your interest in being a master trainer, you will have reason to see the pledge and the 10 guiding principles, or you can find them in the Sati Pasala website as well. And the other 4 are the reading material, the Mindfulness Teachers Instructional Manual, which I gave you 7 chapters, translated chapters, the first 7 chapters, and then the instructional essay book, and also the book by Nyanaponika Thero, The Power of Mindfulness. Very interesting book to read at your leisure. The Master Trainer's Handbook, if anybody is interested, I can share with you. It details everything that we have done. So I've used that as the reference or the guide to deliver this training program. So if anybody is interested in delivering training programs or following it up with your students, the handbook is available, and it is available on the Sati Pasala website, or you can I can give you the link to it. So this is just summarizing essentially all our expectations of what this training program had been and what we tried to deliver to you. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. If you continue to write your mindfulness practice reports, next week is the last week before I switch the deactivate the Google form, so you can continue to use it until next week, end of next week, and I will provide feedback. The reading, Stopping and Slowing Down, Chapter 3, The Power of Mindfulness. I've shared the ebook again on the WhatsApp group today, so it is available freely online. So I hope you will be able to read the 3rd chapter of this. So the only chapters that I have asked you to read were the introduction and this 3rd chapter, but you are welcome to read the rest of the chapters. And I hope you had finished reading the 8-week 8-week essays, but if you haven't, you have another week to go through them. And if you haven't read the chapters 1 to 7 on the instructional manual, you might have to dig up all the emails. The chapters, the links are provided there. So the Google, there's a whole host of Google forms. I apologize for too many forms, but there were a set of 4 forms that will help you to track your learning outcomes for each of the modules. So thank you for those who filled it up and sent it to me. And if you have any questions, especially if you do not feel confident in any of the learning outcomes, I will send information for you to further information, or you can go over the sessions to see if there is anything to be clarified. The pre and post assessment questionnaire, they're basically the same questions. And thank you for those who have submitted the forms. I need to point out 2 things. This is to check and track your own progress within the 8 weeks of mindfulness practice, your own personal practice. Now, there are 2 outcomes. One, you will clearly see that there were 20 points in the assessment, and you will see that you are now rating yourself at a higher score than in the pre-assessment. In the post-assessment, you're rating yourself a higher score, possibly because you have improved and you are more aware of yourself. And for example, I won't mention any names, but out of the 20 points, if somebody had given themselves the least likely, 0.1 for 2 of the questions, in the post-assessment, they have given themselves a 4 and a 5. A big change in the way that they have improved on with their mindfulness, or how they have progressed in their mindfulness practice. Now, the other thing is becoming more self-aware. Now, for example, let's say you are in grade 3 and your teacher gives you a math question paper, and there are 25 questions and you got 25 out of 25. But that topic is a part of a bigger topic, and when you go to grade 4, the first 25 questions and the grade 4 25 questions, you get a question paper of 50 questions. And if you are still getting 25, that probably means there is more, you become aware that there is more to learn. So if you are downgrading yourself, that is also a positive thing. You can think of the glad game, because now you are becoming more aware of where you are, so you, from the pre-assessment to post-assessment, you may have downgraded. For example, from the 20 points, who have in the pre-assessment, if you have given a full, the highest rating, and somebody would have given out of the 20 points, maybe for 9 points, they have downgraded themselves by one rating, which means you are more aware, you are more honest in how you are looking at your strengths and weaknesses and identifying yourself. So whatever you put in your post-assessment, if you can't remember your pre-assessment data, I will just send them individually to you so you can have that comparison for yourself. So the closest example that I can give you for this is some years back when I went, when we had this overall workshop to look at the management of some program that we were doing. We had to rate give a rating for certain sections on how it is happening in maybe my school, at school in a different part of the world. So when we got together, so when I graded and I gave ratings, I realized, oh, we are doing so well in this section. We are doing so well in this section. So without having any comparison with another school, and knowing and being satisfied with what we have achieved in our school, so I would give the highest rating for myself. And then we go on and learn more things. Nobody had to tell me I would downgrade certain aspects, because I know and can see where I could improve those areas in the school. So very similar. Yes, thank you for letting me know. Right, and then the other two forms, my point, if you're most welcome to give feedback on these 8 sessions using the my point Google form, the same form you would use to send your mindfulness practice reports. And if you are interested in further training to become a master trainer, you can fill in that expression of interest to be a master trainer Google form. And like I said, the WhatsApp group will be active next week, because I have to send you this PowerPoint and the recording and some other information. But after next Sunday, if you want to leave the group, you can leave, but don't leave until next Sunday. Be in the group for another week, so I can share more information with you. If you do have any questions, you're most welcome to ask, or you can write to satipasala@gmail.com to get any information. And I must say, this is the, you are the group of participants who completed the English medium training for the whole world. So this is the first training in English medium that we are delivering for the whole world. So congratulations in completing it. I know we had 20 people registered, so our retention is about 40%, but still congratulations anyway. So practice slowly, mindfully and silently, and I wish you a happy new year, a mindful new year, and I hope many good things come your way with your mindfulness practice. If you do have questions, this is a good time to ask. Chatara, you raised your hand. Go ahead.
Hello, madam.
Yes.
Madam, thank you for being thank you for being very nice to us for all these weeks, first of all. And the mindfulness actually really changed the life and the lifestyles.
It does, doesn't it? Yes, and you are convinced of that. I am here talking to you because I am convinced of that with my own personal practice. And that is how, that is the way that we can continue to teach our younger generations. Because if we are not convinced, then we are not going to make a good job of getting others to practice. So thank you so much. I know Chaturu's phone is dying, so he just got disconnected, but thank you. As a mindfulness practitioner himself, he's done quite a lot, and I thank Chaturu a lot. Yes.
Thank you, Miss Nirasha. I hope you can hear me on behalf of Royal International School as well. We've already planned for 2022 and set aside a period in our junior school as well for mindfulness.
Yes.
So we are really looking forward to taking this program to the students, and we thank you for your guidance and the insight you have given to us. So hopefully this will be successful at RIS, and all thanks to your guidance.
I'm so grateful because from next week, not next week, week after next, we have some requests from government schools to go into the schools to do face-to-face sessions for staff and for students. So I've been invited to a school called DS Senanayaka College, which is going to be named as a national school next week. And then a couple of more schools have asked. So it would be interesting if you need any guidance or further plans, we can certainly assist you in from the Sati Pasala Foundation, but I'm very grateful for Royal International School for taking this up, seeing the necessity, the timely need for it, and your commitment, because this will not be successful if you are not committed, and I can see that. So I'm very grateful for that. Yes, Mr. Chandrasiri, you have raised your hand.
Madam, this is
Yes.
the most orderly master program I have experienced. So thanks very much, madam, for your untiring effort with the less than 10 persons. Thank you very much. I wish you happy, healthy and mindful new year. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. It is important as teachers, and you're all adults here, so I can't waste your time, right? So as teachers, you would keep this in mind when you work with other adults as well. We treat everybody with respect and dignity, and we appreciate another person's time. So when you deliver your own programs, even to young people or adults, it is essential that we are mindful of that as well. Yes, Danoja?
Yes, Nirasha Miss, thank you so much for your guidance in this regard. And it was really helpful because in each and every session that we had, you emphasized a lot about the importance of this mindfulness practice. And actually that has been installed deep down into our heart every Sunday evening. I think though we all are having a busy schedule, but when you emphasize the importance of it more and more, so that has actually had a very big impact on our mind. So I think thank you so much for your guidance, and I wish you all strength and courage to carry out these types of programs in future to many other practitioners who wish to follow such programs. Thank you so much, and may the Triple Gem bless you.
Thank you for your kind words, Danoja. I'm quite humbled. Thank you. And it is true that the same way, right? When we deliver any training for an adult, right, that person will go and work with young children. So for young children, we want to establish the fact that practicing mindfulness on their own is really important. For example, we run a Sunday school for English medium students, and I think some students from your school do attend that, and they are telling us, in fact, this morning we were speaking about studying, mindfulness and studying, and a couple of students from, I think one was from RIS, they told me that now they have started to spend a little bit on mindfulness practice before they start their studying. So maybe on breathing in and out, they just spend a few minutes focusing on their breathing, and then they start studying. And they reported to me to say that they seem to remember more after studying after a mindful sitting session. So they are picking it up, and they are realizing the advantage and the benefits for themselves. So I'm pretty sure that your students in your school will pick it up and become very successful. Thank you, Danoja. Well, yes, Danica.
Hello, good evening, Miss.
Good evening, Janika.
Yes, Miss, I wanted to thank for you for your kindness. And I can remember once I got absent, you called me personally and you asked how do I want to help you. So that time you helped me a lot. And I wanted to wish you all the best. And thank you so much. This program is very useful for my personal life as well as for my teaching career.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you for your kind words. Thank you. Right. And I wish, as teachers, I wish you all the success, a stress-free mind, because it is, statistics say that teachers, school teachers in Sri Lanka have a lot of mental health issues, which is, the percentage is higher than the average percentage for teachers in the whole world. So, because there's so much stress. And I hope this will help you to practice with a clear mind, a stress-free teaching practice for you for this year and beyond. So I wish all the teachers and the management in RIS all the best. So if there are no further questions, we can end, or we have 4 minutes more if you have any questions you need to clarify. All right then. Good night, everybody. Stay safe, stay well. Have a great week and a new year tomorrow with your work.
Good night, madam. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night. Good night.
Thank you, madam. Good night.
You're welcome.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you, madam. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you, Miss. Good night.
Good night.